Amazing. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Reignite Your Soul podcast. We are super excited to have you on here today. We have an incredible guest here, Erin Edwards. She has so many accolades already. It's like insane. She inspires me so much, but she's the author of A Drink Called Mindfulness. She's a Reiki practitioner. She is natropathically trained, and she is co-founder of Kween Wellness. So thank you so much for being on here today with us all, Erin.
Thank you, Laura. What a pleasure to be here. What an honor to be here sharing this space with you. Thank you.
Thanks. I know it's going to be such a good chat. I know the people that watch this podcast kind of know I've been doing more interviews lately, and they're just super conversational. I always say, you never know what's actually going to happen. It's completely
Who knows?
hard. But I know, like, I met Erin not long ago through a mutual friend of ours, and we got together last week when I was in Toronto, and we were literally at dinner for like over 2 hours. And it was just like, it was just one of those soul connections, you know, like when you just meet somebody for the very first time, but you feel like you've known them forever because we've probably had many past lives together.
Exactly. Exactly. It was as if, you know how like you go in the forest and you see these two trees and they're like, you know, they're definitely like sisters or something. And although they're like growing, you know, maybe 20, 30, 50 feet apart, you know, they're connected under the ground and above the ground too, maybe like in the canopy. That was what it was like.
Wow, that's so special. I love that so much. Oh my gosh, Erin, you're absolutely incredible. Do you mind just sharing everybody a little bit about your story? Because you have such a powerful story. There's so many aspects to your story that just are so incredible.
Of course. Yes. Where do I begin? I think my journey really began, I mean, when I was born, but I think my consciousness journey began as a teenager. I was playing elite level soccer. I was training a lot. I was, you know, looking back, sorry, I think I was a little bit robotic. I had a lot of structure in my life. You know, I woke up, did fitness, went to school, went to soccer practice, ate dinner, kind of went to bed. That was like every single damn day. And that wasn't, I felt it was good in that time. You know, I got really good at soccer and you kind of get what you put in, right? So there was that. It taught me discipline. But when I was 22, I actually got a concussion, well, several concussions. That was kind of the last of my concussions. And my doctor said, you know, this is like your very last one. Like, don't play anymore. Like, you're half a concussion away from like serious brain damage. Like, you can't go back this time. Like, don't be stupid. And so that was in my early 20s. And that kind of really was the catalyst for me kind of understanding who I was as a human, right? Because before then I was a soccer player. I was a teammate. You know, I was the youngest of 7 in my family. It was like I had very, very structured, very strict kind of rules around who I was and what I did in my life. And before then, I really didn't have an opportunity, I don't think, to learn more about myself. So there's that, I think, really, really impacted my life, and in a good way. You know, it taught me a lot of discipline. It taught me really, really a lot of the benefits of, you know, having that kind of lifestyle, just as exercise is medicine and, you know, nutrition as medicine and everything about that. So in playing soccer, it really kind of gave me that holistic kind of feel in terms of how can you as a team level up. And I began coaching after that injury. So there's that side of me. There's that kind of like athlete, that type A personality. And then in my teenage years as well, I kind of figured out that I was queer. You know, as I hit puberty, I was kind of like, ooh, like looking at people that were the same sex as me instead of the opposite, and kind of wondering about that. And growing up in a very small town, a very Catholic town under pretty strict Catholic parents, I didn't have any role models for that. You know, I questioned constantly myself, my own decisions, my own attractions. And so that was kind of the first bit of me, I think, kind of starting to challenge the norm that I knew, right? Going to church every Sunday, like, what was that? Why are these people hypocrites? You know, they don't accept me. They don't accept the real me, although I'm being fake right now, right? So there was all these thoughts in my head as a teenager that were really rebellious, you know, that teenage angst. But that was me coming into my own. And that was maybe the first time that I've questioned authority, questioned what I knew, questioned my parents, you know, questioned the expectations that were surrounding me in terms of the relationships that I had and even the friendships. You know, I questioned those because I came out to my friends first, obviously. And that was even in itself very strategic. I only came out to like my guy friends first, so they wouldn't feel like threatened. And, you know, looking back, it was, what the hell? Like, it was ridiculous. Like, I should have just, you know, stepped into my power.
Yeah, that's massive.
Right? So I was slowly kind of learning how to take those steps into my own power. And yeah, so I guess I came out fully when I was 18 to my parents and to the world and everything else. And that really started my journey. Of course, at that time, I was also in university. I was first year university, obviously living that dream, living in residence, partying a lot, you know. It wasn't until really second or third year that I kind of just was like, okay, I need to like stop being so crazy and stop partying so much. But even then, I'll let you know as we go further into my stories that I became basically a binge alcoholic in my early 20s. And university wasn't really the only beginning to that. I think it started earlier in my life, trying to deal with being queer and trying to come out. And I guess for your listeners who maybe don't have that experience, the experience of coming out is not just a one-time thing, right? You come out to every single friend that you make, every single move that you make. If you go to a different town, if you go to a different university, if you make a different soccer team, you know, you have to come out over and over and over again. And that can in itself be traumatic, right? Mm-hmm. Very traumatic. So sure. I think for my early years of my life, up until I was about 20, I kept doing that over and over and over again, you know, and then I went to university and I had to do it again. And even in my life now, I like, you know, the friends I meet at work or wherever, I don't feel bad about coming out or anything like that, but it is like almost the assumption, right? It's against the grain in our heteronormative society. So just that in itself has kind of set me back in terms of, you know, I've felt like I was swimming upstream a lot of my life. And yeah, so there's that. There's all that. And then on top of that, if you can imagine, there's more. When I was 20, my dad got diagnosed with brain cancer. And that was such a huge blow to me. You know, as the youngest of my family, I was, you know, growing up without all my siblings around because they had already like kind of moved away. And so it was just me and my dad there for a bit, you know, for a couple of years during university because my mom was, you know, visiting my other siblings in California, Montreal, etc. So yeah, myself and my dad really had gained a sort of connection that we never had before. You know, he'd always been my number one fan in terms of, you know, coming to my soccer tournaments and keeping all my stats and all that, you know. So when he got diagnosed with brain cancer, it was a huge blow. And his brother also had been diagnosed with brain cancer a few years before. And it wasn't very long before, like after he got diagnosed, that he had passed. So I think for me and my siblings and for my mom, we were really, really trying to figure out, and you know, everybody came home to Newfoundland right away because we were like, oh my God, you know, that the worst thought was on our mind, death. So he lived for another 9 months. He went through chemo, he went through all that, and we helped him out through that. And I guess that's probably what started maybe my binge alcoholism, along with, having to stop playing soccer because of those concussions. And I was just a total wreck, just totally lost it. I was the furthest down I could have probably went in terms of depression over the next couple years after that. And it was really tough in my early 20s. And I think losing a parent when you're that young, you don't really know how to function, for one. You're still trying to discover your own identity.
Yeah.
And then it also changes the relationships that you have with your family, with, your other parent, your friends. It's a whole other thing, right? And so I was really learning to come into my own, and really learning at the same time how to show up for someone, right, who needed care. So I think those big events in my life really, really hit home for me. Sometimes you have certain things that make you do a 180, and death, of course, is definitely one of them. And addiction, probably another one, at least the recovery part of it, maybe not while you're in it. And coming out as a teenager, those were really big events in my life. And I talk more about those 3 specific events in my book, A Drink Called Mindfulness, and really how I was absent-mindedly doing mindfulness to kind of get through it all.
Oh, I love that.
I was, an alcoholic, but I was still doing breath work, like it's not one or the other. I was a soccer player, and I still knew how to perform under pressure because we had a lot of visualization training, so those little things I didn't even realize were really mindfulness, right? And I hadn't even been exposed to meditation yet at that point in my life. So there's a difference, I think, between mindfulness and meditation. And not a lot of people know that. You don't have to be, wearing an orange robe and sitting in a cathedral all day long, living that monk life to be mindful or to change your life. And that's really what I wanted to reiterate when I wrote that book, is that, doing simple things in 5 minutes a day can change your life.
Yeah.
And here's how I did it, kind of thing.
So incredible, guys. If you want to get Erin's book, I have it. Erin just gifted it to me. I'm so excited to read it. I will put the link for this in the comments of this podcast so you can go purchase this book. I'm so excited. Yeah, honestly, Erin, like, your story is so incredible. And you said so many golden nuggets in there. Like, I think first off, I think a lot of us, well, almost all of us, unless you're in like a career like us, where you really have to dig into your story and find out like what those pivotal moments were, like, you don't really think about it. I know when I first got into entrepreneurship and what I'm doing, it was like, you undervalue your story so much because, like you said, we're just going through all of these moments and we just do it, right? We don't know what we're doing. We don't know how we're doing it. We just do it. We're so resilient. And when we can go back and actually look at all of those pivotal moments that actually, like, we overcame and we got through, even though they were the hardest times of our life. And for you and your story, a lot of it was about finding that identity, right? And I heard a quote in a podcast that I was listening to just recently, and it was like, everybody's looking to find themselves. And in reality, it's like, they're looking in the external world to find themselves, but it's like, we truly just need to look within, and all of the answers are there. And it's like, you're a very intuitive person. And I know, like, throughout my own journey too, I never thought of myself as a spiritual person or an intuitive person, but I was intuitive all along, right? It's like, I always say this, but when we look forward, we never know what the heck's going to happen. It's just a big blur of unknown. But when we look backwards, we're able to connect the dots as to how we actually got here. And all of it happened just by you being present in the moment and just like intuitively flowing with the things that resonate with you at the time. And I just want to say, I'm so proud of you for like overcoming everything that you've overcame. And like, from like the very beginning, like from your soccer, like having that identity shift, and then like from coming out, that identity shift, And then from your dad passing, I know you mentioned death with your dad passing, but there is like I've been learning this a lot lately too, because obviously things right now with the energy in the world, we're all elevating very quickly. And there's a lot of death and rebirth happening within our own selves. I remember a couple of weeks ago, I looked in the mirror and I was like, who is that? Who is that staring back at me? I don't even know, right? I don't even know, because it's like, we're just changing so much. And like all of those pivotal moments that you had, it was a death and a rebirth of a new version of Erin. And that's all comes from within. And it's so cool, because us as humans and human consciousness, it's like that growth is like unlimited. That potential is like, there's no end to it.
Hashtag 2020, baby. Hindsight. Woo! I'll tell you, like, death is something, you know, as someone who's gone through it, I think I would never wish it upon anyone, right? To be a survivor of someone else who had been close to you and died. But oh man, I discuss this in my book as well. It was the happiest I've ever been, Laura. Literally the happiest, which was, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but it was a total mindfuck for me at the time. You know, I was 21 when he died. I was, you know, standing by his hospital bed. He was labored breathing.
Not now, Mom. We're recording a podcast.
Not now, Mom. Speaking of parents. So yeah, he was like labored breathing, you know, on morphine, kind of just in his palliative care unit going, you know, slowly going. And I felt at that point that he was really almost not with us anymore, right? And I felt in his last moments that I really needed to be closer to him. And so what I did, I literally crawled into the bed with him in his hospital room, and I hugged him so tight, and I said, it's okay to let go now. And he took his last breath while I was there hugging him. And you know, death is such an interesting thing, because immediately when his last, you know, fragments of his soul left his body, I was taken with him. I was taken with him to his heaven. And it was beautiful. It was a place that reminded me of earth, right? And I could not shed a tear. It was amazing. I could feel the warmth of the sun. I could feel the cool breeze. You know, I could hear the birds chirping. I could see the flowers blooming. I could literally run with him through meadows of grass. Like, it was beautiful. And then all that happened in like one split second. All of a sudden I was kind of transferred back into the room, you know, surrounded by his family, his brothers and sisters and my brothers and sisters. And I wouldn't trade that for the world, that experience. I was shown what his heaven looked like. And for me, that was so happy, right? So I came back into the room, into my body, thinking, oh my God, that's amazing. I'm so pumped for you, Dad. Like, go, you go, bro. Like, get on that heaven. Like, you know, and I came back feeling that way. And meanwhile, everyone else in the room is like just crying, tears flowing, you know, ultimate sadness. You feel that cloud in the room when everybody is just like, you know, and it was a feeling juxtaposed like with their feelings. And I felt bad about that for a long time. I felt bad that he had died and that I was happy that he died. And I think that's something that we don't often talk about in death in general. Like, it's really something that, you know, people expect you to be sad, but no, the feeling, the spectrum of feelings that you feel is all over the place, right? When someone dies. And I've had the opportunity, I guess, the rare opportunity to be close to someone else who has died really recently. And it was the same feeling. I felt happiness for them. And it was even worse in that situation because it was a suicide, you know? And so everyone who was left behind felt, you know, all the survivor guilt, you know, all the survivor anger. And I felt so happy, you know, that she had finally in her last moments chose to make an empowered decision to move on, whatever that means, right? And I always say that we humans are so life biased, right? We don't know anything else. We don't know what it's like to be anywhere else. And so I find a lot in the energy world that people are a lot more okay with death because like you said, it's more of just recognizing that everything in life is a death and a rebirth at the same time, and we're reminded of those things time and time again. Look at the seasons, 4 seasons per year. Our earth goes through death and rebirth all of the time, and we don't even acknowledge it hardly, right? That is originally what the equinox is, and the changing of the seasons has been for humanity, and we've kind of lost that. So I think the more connected we are to nature, we can connect more and honor more to maybe the sentient soul of Mother Earth, or the soul of us, right? Because we're all one in the big scheme of things. And talk about up-leveling consciousness. This is really what it's all about, moving forward and leveling up. And I hate that. I hate that kind of jargon because it implies that we were lower than before, right? Or the people that, aren't worthy are lower than, which is not the case. Like, I don't like that hierarchy. I think that everyone has that power, everyone has that intuition and that wisdom lying within them. It's a choice. It's the choice at that point, whether they act on it or not.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Everything that you just said, it just speaks to my soul so much. And like that oneness, like it truly is like, we're all one. And for the listeners, like, I'm not too sure what your belief systems are. I know when I was younger, I didn't really have much of a belief system, I thought everything happened for a reason. Like I truly did have this trust that things would just work out, but I never believed in a God. I never believed in, I wasn't sure whether I believed in life after death and all of these different things. But once I started actually doing more meditation, and I did plant medicine and all of these things, it really opened up my mind to more. So I know I always say on this, keep your minds open and your hearts open to what's possible, because there's so many things, we're so we only know what we know. And we've been we only know from our immediate family. We know from our surroundings, our teachers, our education system. We know from mainstream media. And I think we forget sometimes, this has came up quite a few times this week for me, but I think we forget sometimes that we are the first generation that has had Wi-Fi, cell phones, texting. We have so much information privy to us right at our freaking fingertips. And if you think about before that, they just didn't have access to more information. We have access to the most brilliant minds. We have access to the most incredible tools to be able to help us get through things, to be able to expand our consciousness. And I know I've said this in my podcast before, but I think we forget sometimes that each and every single one of us literally got created from our mother and our father, literally creating a cell and then duplicating into this beautiful human being. Isn't that crazy? We forget that your mother literally incubated you for 9 months, give or take a little bit, and then created a freaking baby, and you grew up into this thing, and yet we doubt certain things in our life. Oh, this can't be for me, or this, that's for that person, or no, I can't do that, or that's not real, this is fake, this and that. It's we place all of this judgment on things, yet anything is truly possible. And it all comes down to our belief system. When it comes to the topic of death, and it comes to all of these things, it's it has brought me so much peace knowing and just having that belief system that there is something else, that there's something more waiting for us, that this isn't all of the stuff that we're going through, all of the challenges, all of the good times, that there is a reason for it. And thank you so much for just sharing all of that, because it still is, it's a topic that the average person maybe hasn't been exposed to yet. And for me, it's just been over the last year where I've really stepped more into educating myself on matters like this. And it has brought me so much peace. I've never grown so much in my entire life as when I started expanding my mind to new things.
Yes, Laura. Yes. Yes. Like I want more conversations like this that
Yeah.
literally make me go, yes, queen. Like I need that. And it's so fulfilling, right? And I just want to say something that you really it triggered me, not in a good in a good way, to think about that, 2020 is the year of the nurse and the midwife. Just talk about death and rebirth right there. Like nurses, how much do they do for humanity? Like when someone has chosen to become a nurse, it's like the ultimate feminine quality, like that nurturing, that nourishment, right? That caring, that really, really sitting with someone and just holding their hand through whatever kind of condition or illness they're in, right? And the same applies for midwifery, is that they have this beautiful skill that they are able to just sit with women. Women are the birthers of humanity, and it's this beautiful, beautiful thing rooted in such yin qualities. And that I think is the difference now in our world versus maybe 1,000 years ago when the patriarchy was gone wild. And it's been slowly, I think, kind of like fading out since then, but we are in a very good position. Our generation is in a very good position to amalgamate both the masculine qualities of humanity and of society and of earth with the feminine, right? And this is what, if you have studied any religion, any sort of text in the monolithic tradition, even paganism and shamanism before that, they're really all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
They're just saying it in different languages, right? And that is to come together and to become one. Literally, like, just made me think of that Spice Girls song, "To Become One." Like, it's literally that. And we forget also that our parents, yes, they did, come together to make us, but we have been part of our lineage for a very, very long time. Yeah. Right. And it doesn't matter if you believe in reincarnation or not at this point. It's like the thought of you, the soul of you has been carried by your grandmother, by your great grandmother, by your great grandfather, by all of your lineage back and back and back and back and back, 7 generations as far as the indigenous people here on Turtle Island say, but that could even be more, right? So 7 generations of me is really far back in my lineage, like all the way back, right? All the way back to the Celtic Druids and the Vikings, in my lineage, or whatever else I have in my lineage. So there's things that we don't even see, right? And we use our 5 senses, right? And that is part of, us evolving and being here on Earth. But there is a whole other 6th sense that we've honored people for a very long time for having. And it feels like in the past, maybe 1,000 years, that people have been shunned for that, right? They've been killed, they've been burned, they've been every kind of, they've been incarcerated. And it still happens today. It's still happening. Because protectors of the earth, it's simple as that. People who are protesting, they get arrested all the time. So it's, every action that we do, it's not just coming from us, right? Let's not be naive about that. Like it's coming from the work that our ancestors have done for us several times over, right? And wherever that lands for us, we have to keep carrying it forward, right? So we are at a time right now, it's an opportunity, because a lot of our ancestors really, they had to be the ones getting beaten by their husbands or getting raped or, discovering new lands or whatever that is, or being the ones who were discovered, right? They were the ones who played that part in that story, right? And so in our overarching story, we are at a place right now, you and I and everyone else listening to this, because I really trust that they are hearing this. We are at a place right now where we see that. We've honored that. We've acknowledged that. We say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then we totally turn the course. Okay. We're saying, okay, this is what the wheel has been like. Let's not, take a couple spokes out. Let's just remove the whole wheel and build another thing that also rolls. Whatever that means. We're at a point right now where we are able to do that. And, just in terms of women's voices being heard, Black women's voices being heard, Black people being heard, Indigenous people being heard, laws changing. There's so many aspects to this. The world is so complex, right? But what I see and what I gather is that more and more people are able to step into their power right now. Mm-hmm. And that, when you get that is the end of capitalism. That is the end of the industrialization, right? Yeah. That is the end of people being robots, being people on an assembly line, kind of going through the motions. That is the end of that. We're entering into a new space right now. And it's up to us to keep it going and to keep building that. Mm-hmm. Was that like me channeling? I don't know, but that was something.
It was beautiful. Like you talked about so many things in there, like the masculine, the feminine, like the past, the present, the future. And it's like, all of it comes down to understanding that we in the present moment do have this accumulation of the past, but we're always just doing our best in this very moment to get through those things, but also forecasting what we want the future to look like. And like we said, like we've grown up in this environment where it's very masculine, like we're very goal oriented, we're very this, that, we're very fast paced. But COVID has really like sunk us into this, like it's pulled the rug out from underneath us. And we've been like, I know we were talking about this right before we started doing this podcast, how we've had so much more time in our own heads, right? And we've started realizing things that like we just never paid attention to before, where we get these, like it's that sixth sense, like, are you actually listening? Because a lot of the time thoughts will come into our head, but we just ignore them because we're busy. We're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this, right? So now it's like actually like mindfulness, like you talk about in your book, it all just comes down to actually taking the time and putting time aside for yourself and making it a priority to actually sit with yourself and be able to take in all of these different things, because everything that you just talked about, like preach, right? And it's just, as you continue to go along this journey, like things just start making sense. And the biggest thing that I always say to people is like, trust that feeling inside of you. We know, and it's that intuition, right? When you hear somebody speak and you feel that feeling, that's saying like, there's something right about this. And follow it and explore it and learn and like grow and educate yourself and whatever that looks like. And the oneness and actually coming out of love and compassion. This is a world that we right now, like I am fully on board with us being the generation that is shaking shit up. We have ideas that have never been ever seen before. Technology, everything. Like we are in a time right now where it is pivotal. It's pivotal that you really step into your vision of what you see the world to be. It's pivotal that I step into that vision of what I want to do and create the things that are on our mind, because I know for so long I had these ideas or these things that I wanted to create, but then it was like I would doubt myself because it wasn't in the physical world yet. But the way that we bring things to the physical world is from our internal world. And it's funny because I was sitting in the kitchen, like these are the thoughts that I have in my head, but I was sitting in the kitchen the other day and I was just sitting there looking around, and like, just take a second wherever you're at right now and just look around where you are at. There are so many things. Every single thing that we are currently seeing was created by somebody, right? Like this has been created by somebody. These crystals, they've been taken from earth, but they've also had men or women take it from its raw form and turn it into something. This book was like literally created by Erin, but like somebody took these pages from like trees and turned it into paper. All of these things were creations. And we just forget about these things, right? It's like taking things from our internal world into the external world is such like a beautiful thing. And we're stepping into this time now where we can truly be authentic. You can truly be who you want to be. Whereas back in the day, man, when I like look at my Oma and how boxed in her life was, like, bless her soul, I love her so much, but she did not have the same opportunities as we do.
Yes. Yes.
It's
And I'm
crazy.
glad that you brought up your Oma, because I feel, this is really my opinion, but I think it's like a general opinion that's been floating around in the energy practitioner world, is that the work that we do, you know, the soul work, the shadow work, the, you know, deep in the trenches work that our generation is willing to do and has the space to do because of the people who came before us. We are not only doing that work for ourselves, right? We are healing the wounds of our grandmothers. We are healing the wounds of our ancestors that lived a long time ago. We are healing those wounds that they never had the opportunity to heal. So it's not even about me at that point, right? It's not even about me as an individual, me as Erin, you know, getting over my sense of neglect in childhood or whatever that might be, right? It's more about me allowing that to play out in my head and say, okay, I'm going to like talk to my psychotherapist about this or whoever else. But I'm also recognizing that it may not be me, right? So we talk about people being empaths right now. You know, empaths are huge right now. Everyone's an empath. Everyone is an empath, but a lot more people are identifying as an empath. And that's the thing. I think people are our age, I guess in our group, are realizing that it's the feelings that they feel, the anxieties that they have, the depressions that they have, the ups and downs, the swings, you know, the anger, frustration, all of that is not just theirs. And that's totally okay. It's a lot. It's, you know, it is from a long time ago. This is like thousands of years work of humanity's psyche.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like those ancestors had to do, you know, somewhat more physical work, be in this space a little bit more, like be grounded on earth a bit more to pave the way for us to really get in our heads a little bit more and realize, oh, okay, this feeling that I'm feeling is not actually mine. And so that's intuition, I think, on another level. Like, okay, you trust your own intuition. This is what you feel about the situation. But say when you walk into a room and you just don't feel right, you know, that may not be you not feeling right. That could be somebody else feeling anxious.
Or you're like, man, why do I have this energy? Why do I feel this way? You're like, oh my God, it's not even mine. That's something I just like recently learned. And I was like, woo!
Yes.
Understand this,
right?
Not take it on.
Well, that's another thing, right? That's like another level, I think. So we're in this stage where we at least recognize, you know, we see that this is the way we feel. And then all of a sudden we're like, the next level is like, oh, actually, this is not how I feel. This is how like the collective feels.
Yeah. And there's so much collective.
Right. And 2020, like all the protests, all the forest fires, literally everything, it could not have happened unless people had slowed down and given that space for it to happen. Everything. And people wouldn't have been listening otherwise, right? It's been the story of our life for the past, you know, 2000 years basically. And astrologically, I don't know a lot about astrology, but you know, in the big scheme of things, we are actually moving out of the age of Pisces, right? So we're moving from one astrological sign to the next, which is, you know, occurring every about like, I don't know, 2,500 years or something. So just with that, of course, there's going to be upheaval. Of course, there's going to be unrest. Of course, there's going to be, you know, people tackling the system. of course there's going to be people who set fire to it, you know, or whatever else that means. And we are in such a good space again to really, really see that and again, maybe even remove ourselves from the feeling of anger and frustration and everything, and really look at that in a sense from like, you're looking at it from behind the scenes almost, you know, and that's what mindfulness gives. And that's why mindfulness is so important right now for a lot of us, is that people need to be able to just see it from behind the scenes. They need to watch it.
Yeah.
They need to witness.
Yeah. Be an observer.
Mm-hmm. That's what Mother Earth needs right now, I think. It's just somebody witnessing her.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. You always just blow my mind so much. I'm like, everything you say, I'm like, oh,
just like
just
truth.
Literally,
I
like,
can't stop saying these things. Like literally, every conversation I have is something around this, and it's totally okay with me, because I think that maybe I'm the person to speak about it, you know, and someone else can be the person to actually do something about it or organize around it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And like our generation, like we feel so much, like, I know for me personally, and I'm sure you can relate to this too, anybody who's speaking their truth and speaking out on this right now, it can feel like a lot of weight to carry, right? Like you're not only carrying your own personal weight, now you're carrying all of this weight of the world. And to anybody that is actively like voicing all of this stuff right now, like, I just want you to know that anything that you're taking from your internal world right now and putting it out to the external world, like, I just want to commend everybody listening for it. Okay. Because that is huge. And the world just needs to know, right? Like, it just needs to know what's inside of you. And we keep so many things inside, yet it's literally the most precious, intimate, sacred things. And it can be scary to be able to put it out to the world, but it truly is. Anything you put out to the world right now is up leveling and healing the planet and healing all of this generational stuff and healing ourselves along the journey. And the more that we as a collective, we individually start sinking into this mindfulness, and we start sinking into just exploring and being curious again, the more, like, as a collective, we are going to be able to raise that. And as that happens, we can truly create that change that we want to create, because the change is happening regardless right now. Like, everything that's happening in the world is for a reason within the timeline that we're in. And it's like, we have choice, and we are able to make an impact, even just with one single person raising their frequency, raising their vibration right now in these times, and choosing to take a look and focus on what's going good in their life. It's going to help. So even if things seem super small right now, guys, know that every single tiny little thing that you're doing is a win, and just be grateful and just show love and appreciation for every tiny little thing that you're doing. Because I know times are hard right now, but it's like, just really like, not like, nail in your focus so that you're really intentional about the things that you're choosing to look at right now. Yeah.
Honey.
And yeah, and I just want to thank you so much for coming on here, Erin. You're honestly such a beautiful soul, and I know you're coming on Together We Rise to next Wednesday, so people can catch you on there as well. And I know you have some more upcoming things on your own. Would you mind just opening up and sharing a little bit about what you have going on? Because you're like, literally, like, just listening to you talk, your vision for the world, everything is just so incredible. So for any of the listeners that are listening, how can they locate you? How can they find you? What do you have upcoming? And
of course.
Yeah,
a lot of things are happening. A lot of people need support right now. A lot of people need to honor themselves right now. And I just want you all, everyone listening, to know that you are the nurses of the world. You are the midwives of the world. And action isn't always in the way that we think. Okay. So action, you know, self-care could be action and protesting. Your own self-care could be staying in and making sure that you're safe. You know, so there's a lot of different ways to feel empowered and step into your own, you know, and don't feel guilty about the actions that you do or do not do, because they are all really productive. So I would love to continue this conversation with anybody who it resonated with. I have a lot of different ways that people can get a hold of me. I'm pretty active on Instagram. That's probably my best way to get a hold of me, or just, follow me. My handle is the Erin Edwards. So just THE, the Erin Edwards. And you can also get a hold of me on my website. It's just theerinedwards.com again. So it's just my name, ERIN Edwards, with a the in front of it. Right now, I am actually hosting my next 6-week mindfulness course, deemed Comfort Queen. Okay, so I teach the Comfort Queen method. You can get a hold of us there at Kween Wellness. So Kween is spelled with a K, WEEN, Queen, like the queens that you are. Or to actually just get on the registration and the waiting list for that when it actually fully rolls out. So the course is going to start November 1st, but you can go ahead and go on my website, theerinedwards.com/comfort-KWEEN. And so you can just sign up there. That's a full-on wait list. I'm working with a lot of people right now, and I'm so excited to actually launch this course, because it will be more of a self-study for folks, and I'll be able to reach a lot more people that way. So yeah, I just want to end this with saying thank you, thank you, thank you. One of the methods within the Comfort Queen mindful method is thrust and ripple. And you guys are like, what? And this is what it is. It's trusting your truth and thriving. Okay. Wow. Trust the ripple.
Your truth and thriving.
Thrust
it. Oh, I love that, Erin. I just want to thank you so much for coming on here. Honestly, like, you are such a gift to this planet. You're such a gift to my life personally. And I'm just so grateful that Kim connected us. Kim, if you're listening, I love you so much. And thank you so much for connecting us, because just you're making such an impact in the world. And I'm just so proud of you for overcoming all of the things you've overcame, and just continuing to follow that feeling inside of you, that voice inside of you that is just telling you that there has to be something more. And guys, connect with Erin. That course is going to be absolutely incredible. Just keep expanding, opening up your minds, opening up your hearts to what is possible for yourself, because you truly can create your life any way that you dream. And just link arms with people that are going to pour love and support and belief into you along your own personal journey. And there's absolutely nowhere that you cannot go if you just have the right community and the right support, and just keep moving along little by little, one foot in front of the other. And just to end it off, I know I shared this with you before, there was this quote that I heard, every breath is a response. And it really resonated with me, because it's a lot of the time we feel like we need to be doing something, or we need to be go, 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 or we need to be actively meditating, or we need to be actively doing this, or journaling, or doing this. But it's it's okay to just be, guys. You know what? It's okay to just be. It's okay to just sit there and do nothing, and just be you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do nothing today. And just listen to that. Just follow it. Mm-hmm. Everything that's happening right now is exactly perfect. And we're all where we're meant to be. And I'm just so grateful to get to just link arms with so many incredible people like yourselves, Erin, so that we can really move this world forward where we see it going, because it's going to be such an incredible, beautiful, peaceful, loving, compassionate place where people can just be themselves and just thrive. So thank you so much for just opening up your heart and sharing everything with us today. I love you so much, girl.
I love you. I love your listeners. Thank you all for being the light in the world. We need more of it. Share your flame with others.
Oh, amazing. Okay. Bye, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye.